excited, even with all the break-ins from the one that we've had. Luckily, the good news is that we will not have any trouble with that during our season finale.
Or so we hope.
Yes, well, we've got a lot of security. We've added some new security cameras. One's at the front over there, one's on the back.
Right, pretty secure alarm system. So.
Yes, very secure.
And he's at least going to have a hard time getting in.
Yes, it would be very difficult for somebody to break in. Of course, on the top of that deck out there, there's a pretty big camera as well. I mean, it's a good thing the camera has great distance because it's about a 15 or 20 foot drop, I would have to say.
Right, and that's only if the alligators don't get them first.
Yes, oh yeah, that's a very great reminder. So we've got all sorts of security, so everything should be fine. No need to worry about the warrant.
Right. Good night, and God bless.
Yeah. Crazy. You gotta figure out what that is. What was that sound? Oh my gosh! Oh, Isaac? What happened here? Looks like there's a... Can you hear me? Isaac, can you hear me? Looks like we've got some sort of glove of some kind.
No,
what was that?
Not the glove.
What was the glove? What's the glove there for?
Back?
Who's back?
The glove guy.
The glove guy? What? So what was that pounding on the door?
It was the thingamajig.
Wait a second. Are you telling me that a boxer came and pulled you down to the ground?
Oh, is that what the glove guy calls himself?
I guess so. Are you all right?
Oh, yeah, doing just peachy.
Well, you said you're good.
Yep. Hopefully I'll still be here for the finale.
Yes. And so you can't really tell because it's pretty dark out here, but there is where we have our security cameras.
Yep.
So we shouldn't have any more of those problems. Oh, look at that. They're not turned on. So that would be the reason why we did not see this boxer coming.
Not turned on. Is the power connected? Wait a second.
We've got to make sure to do that before the finale. Don't worry, we will have the security cameras hooked up for the finale.
I don't think those guys even connected the wires.
Yeah, I guess they didn't. Again, we will make sure to do that. But I do have some good news for you. It's time for the GWP Season 3 finale. We'll see you there.
That's right. You're listening to the GWP Season 3 finale. I'm your host, Isaac Hedges, joined by co-host Jacob Fulmer. Jake, what are we looking at today?
Today, we will be looking at the Strike Zone automation changes, AI 2027, and we will be previewing the short film coming out next week.
Wow, a lot of stuff going on. Let's get right into it.
Yeah, there is, and one thing that we have going on is our security footage right here that's blowing around in the wind, since it is a little bit windy outside today, but that's what you're watching in the background right now is our security camera that's finally working, so
absolutely.
We shouldn't have any problems here today.
Not a whole lot going on out there at the moment, aside from the wind that Jake mentioned. You can see by our flag there to kind of gauge the wind. It probably wouldn't be a bad day for sailing, huh?
It wouldn't be, and maybe if we can all go do that and we can show some video on the water in the future, that would be a cool thing.
Right. But hopefully we won't have any problems steering.
Yeah, hopefully that wouldn't be too bad.
Yeah,
but
not that I know anything about that.
So we have that security footage back there just in case something does happen, but again, for the time being, everything has been looking very good.
Yes.
And some people might say that the new Strike Zone automation feature is also pretty good. What do you think?
Right, somewhat. And I can't say I'm an expert on this. We looked at this a little while back. You may have to refresh me on it a bit, but the gist of it is it's sort of a strike zone determined, whereas, with an umpire, we're very little bit, because it's not robotic. You have a preset strike zone, about the text, and then, if the players, take issue with the calls, and they can challenge it. Is that kind of the right idea there.
Yeah, and so we saw the first use of this in Major League Baseball
Right.
just within the All-Star game last month.
Right, and
so
how
that
did it go?
was-
Any thoughts on that? How it worked out for the
Well,
Major League Baseball?
I can't say that I saw the entire game, so I don't
Right.
really know all of the specifics behind how that worked, but I didn't hear any major complaints afterwards. If that is a good thing, sometimes no news is good news, and because I didn't hear too much news about it afterwards.
Right, but I know like with AI certainly, which we'll get to later, you tend to be a little bit more cautious about it, even a little bit, restrictions about it, like, we should not use this at all. Is that kind of how you feel with this, or?
Well, this is a good thing for, a couple of different reasons. Someone could say that it's a bit more accurate just because of that human error that's inside of there. And I think the trouble that we might have is that if it just stops working all of a sudden, if there's a technical glitch,
right, you don't want to
the game might be delayed.
And be like, our electronics are down, we're having technical difficulties, we can't play baseball anymore. So.
Yeah, so that could be an issue.
So that would not be good. So
yeah,
and I wouldn't imagine that the fellows who got baseball started would be too happy about that. And if they were able to see that this had become so reliant on this, that, we have a technical difficulty, now we can't play baseball. I just can't imagine that's the way they intended it. So probably good technology, but as with anything, we don't want to become overly reliant on it. Right.
Yeah, and I don't think that we have, considering that players, they can still challenge it with what the umpire said. I think that's a perfect regulation.
Right, and your main man on this still is the umpire, just to clarify on that. But, if the players take issue with that, kind of the backup to consult on that would be the automatic strike zone.
Yeah, and so that's what would be done if a player felt like that there was a call that wasn't as great or didn't feel like it was accurate.
Right. And like you said, the consistency with that is nice, because you got the margin for human error with umpires. The nice thing about the preset strike zone, where it's all automated, is it's a set box. It's always in the same place. Presumably, unless the machine gets hit by a ball or something and knocked over, then it might be off a little bit. But it seems that it would be a little more consistent.
Yeah, now there is one problem with it as far as the consistency, and this goes with anything.
Yeah, what's that?
So we talk about how sometimes if you make everything kind of universal or, I guess a good way to say this is AI, okay, for example, it gives you kind of a generic answer. It could answer anybody's question.
Right.
And it might not actually give you advice that really fits to you and what you need.
And historically with artificial intelligence, since it's really come around, that's been the focus is, you pose a question to this AI agent and it's going to give you a quick answer. Well, we've actually recently seen a new development on that with what we've focused on a great deal on this podcast when it comes to the AI discussion, which if you're not up to date on, you can just check out our playlist for that on the podcast. A ton of coverage on that. But we've talked about in the past that really the main platforms that we've experimented with, Microsoft Copilot, ChatGPT, have both run on the GPT-4 framework for some time now.
Yeah, and we're going to be looking at one of the big changes that has been taking place momentarily.
Right, and the big change, yeah, we will look at that momentarily. So big stuff, you'll want to stay tuned for that. Don't miss out. So anything else you might add on the automated strike zone, Jake?
Well, when it comes to, we were mentioning how it can be, there can be some error within it, and part of that is the strike zone is going to be different for each player, if that makes any sense. As far as the position, somebody's height could also make a difference.
Variation of position, height, all sorts of factors at play.
And so I think that's one thing that doesn't get factored in to the automated strike zone is that box that's being put up there on the screen is not going to make adjustments for an individual's height.
And at this point, it's a fairly new technology, so the automations that it does feature are fairly rudimentary. That's not to say that they won't be improved in the future. Don't know exactly how that would work, but
I think every player would need a different strike zone.
Right.
So really make it
for
work
example,
efficiently.
would have a sort of a preset strike zone for each player.
Yeah, now some people could argue that it's not that big of a difference to where that would be necessary. So I guess then that's where it would get, that's where the debate would start.
Well, then again, I see how it could be. And, I could see teams doing that, where they go in for training and, each one, takes a turn, to calibrate the machine to themselves. If that makes any sense. But that doesn't seem too far-fetched. I don't know what you think about that.
Well, because you have to think that there's going to be a foot of difference in height between certain players.
Right.
Certain players that, are 5.5 feet.
Right.
Certain players that are over 6 feet.
One of the many factors that can come into play there. So.
Yeah, so that can make a big difference. And there also might need to be a different strike zone if it's a left-handed hitter or a right-handed hitter. So that could also make a big difference.
Absolutely.
And this is one of the recent changes that we've really started to see with Major League Baseball. Of course, a couple of those other changes would be the pitch clock. That was one that's been highly debated for a while. And then also starting the runner on second base in the event that there's extra innings. Now, people might not necessarily like that because it takes away from kind of the originality of the game. But it does speed up games, which means that more people are interested because the average person who's not necessarily a real baseball fan is more likely to sit and watch a game if it's a little bit quicker.
Right, also the average person with a dwindling attention span.
Yes, and that's something that we've seen in recent times.
And that's something that we've often cited on this podcast. There was recently a study done that the average person today, their attention span is less than that of a goldfish. So I remember hearing that before, Jake. I know you and I, had an old band director say, "Oh, you've got the attention span of a goldfish," whenever the class would be rambunctious or something. But now actually the average person, their attention span is less than that of a goldfish, which I was pretty shocked when I heard that statistic. I don't know about you.
So that's an actual statistic. It's not just a saying anymore. There was actual research that was done on that.
Well, I looked at it and I was surprised to find it, but apparently it is.
Wow, that's kind of hard to believe.
It's sad, isn't it?
I guess I say it's hard to believe, but I guess it really isn't when we look at that.
Right. And I can't say I'm a goldfish expert, so I probably shouldn't say too much on it, but yeah. That's the extent of what I know about it.
And so, going back onto the, people's attention spans and all of that, and that's the reason why the game has been speeding up. There is one positive to it if you want to look at it from a very loyal baseball fan from the very beginning, 1900s, all of that. If you want to look at it from that window.
Right. If you've actually got a baseball fan that's been around from the very beginning, it might be something of a purist.
Yeah.
Thinking it shouldn't be changed really at all.
There is one good thing about it. One is that they add 5 seconds when there's a runner on base, which is a really good thing.
Right.
They can limit the amount of pickoff attempts, which I don't think there should have been unlimited attempts to begin with. So I think that's a positive. The other positive is the runner that starts in scoring position in extra innings is done only during the regular season and not done during the playoffs. We haven't seen a lot of playoff games recently since that change has been done to go into extra innings. But when that does happen, that is made a big
Absolutely,
change.
makes sense there. And speaking more broadly, kind of to your point, Jack, as far as these changes and how as I say, this hypothetical baseball fan who's been around from the very beginning might have some issues with it being a little bit of a purist. With this, as with many things, you've got to have some balance in it. Of course, the aim of these changes is to make things more efficient, to improve the game, and hopefully they're not sacrificing, not losing anything major. Obviously, it would be a different game entirely if you changed it fundamentally. But at the same time, there have been quite a lot of changes in baseball. For example, if we're talking about a true purist, when it comes to this sport specifically, they may say, oh, well, we should still be using the original uniforms, and I don't know exactly how kindly today's baseball players would take to that. They've probably grown quite accustomed to, to their, modern, now breathable materials, relatively with things like dry fit as they've come around. So, one might look at it as an innovation. At least that's the intent of it to be something of that nature. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and that's another hotly debated subject of these new uniforms, and
well,
I think they change uniforms too much.
Right. Well, as far as I guess you're talking more about the designs, though.
Well, particularly the designs. But
that would make sense.
You're talking about the material.
So another recent change, right? And that's not exactly new. They've been using dry fit for a while now, and personally, I prefer natural fibers. I prefer cotton. Not a huge fan of dry fit, but I know a lot of athletes love it. So that's fine. Use it for sporting events. But when it comes to uniform changes, another recent thing, heading on this, I think it's standard now of all MLB teams. They all have, in addition to their standard uniform, a City Link uniform. What do you think about that?
I don't have too much of an opinion about it.
Don't have too much of an opinion.
I mean, I'm not super against it.
Okay. Well, when it comes to changes on uniforms, you were talking about that just came to mind as one of the one of the most recent changes.
Yeah, that's another really big change that we've seen.
Mm-hmm. And for those who aren't familiar with it, of course, the idea of the City Link uniform is if for home games they'll be wearing them, and they'll be more natural. Like to the city, for example, one of the big baseball teams in our area, of course, is the Kansas City Royals, and their City Link uniform is inspired by some of the fountains at Kauffman Stadium. So it's supposed to be a more sort of localized design. It's the idea behind it, which I don't take issue with. Frankly, I'm partial to the Royals, especially when it comes to the City Link uniforms. I think theirs with the fountains is one of the best City Link uniforms around in the MLB.
Well, but they're not going to be able to wear those anymore.
Oh, why is that? I hadn't heard that.
Well, I'm saying that. I mean, they might still use them, but they probably...
just with where they're at in the season?
Well, they probably should now because they're going to be moving stadiums in the next couple of years.
Okay, I have not heard that.
Yeah, so that's the other big news is that there's actually a lawsuit over that right now.
Okay, so where are the Royals moving to then?
Downtown Kansas City. And so then there's some controversy behind that.
We covered this debate a little bit. Are they still going to be on the Missouri side?
Well, that is what the lawsuit is particularly over.
Okay, so don't tell me the Royals are going to the Kansas side, over to the dark side. Don't tell me.
It's possible, and right now they're near where the Chiefs are at. Both of those stadiums are right next to each other.
Well, let's hope not.
Those
so
could
all
be
of
moved
our
to Kansas.
loyal viewers, listeners here in Missouri, that say prayers because that is a major thing, of course, in the state of Missouri. Is our teams. So by all means, we'd like to hang on to those, even if you aren't an avid sports fan. Surely you can see the level of recognition and the benefits that brings into economically into our state.
Yeah.
All the people who do attend those games. So.
Well, and you have to think that Missouri has a lot of major league sports teams in Missouri.
Right,
and so
but
that's a huge grab in Kansas City especially.
Yeah, and I'd still say, of course, as Missourians, it'd be in our best interest to hang on to ideally both the Royals and the Chiefs.
Yeah, and really, I think it's ideal right now that they're in the same location. I think that's a really
right. That's very convenient. I've always liked that how Arrowhead and Kauffman Stadium are right next door to each other.
Well, and I think that would be a huge traffic problem if they go into the downtown part of Kansas City.
Right.
We see that in a lot of major cities right now that have ballparks right in the downtown.
Right, it wasn't exactly made for that. Or,
yeah.
At least the level of traffic they get now.
So while we're on the subject of changes with Major League Baseball, something else that just took place last week is that we had the first woman umpire to be in a game.
I did not hear about that.
So I don't remember exactly which game that was.
And you said in a game here, this was Kansas City?
Not with Kansas City, I don't believe, but it was the first Major League game overall to have a woman umpire.
Okay, so by here, they're just in the country. Okay.
Of course, we saw the first NFL, not necessarily, umpire, but we saw the first NFL referee woman just a few years ago.
Really?
And so now we've made that transition into Major League Baseball as well.
Right, because traditionally that's not something that you think of women doing. I mean, I haven't really put much thought into it, but in hindsight, I can't say that I've seen a female referee or umpire. Have you?
No, and
No.
it just shows that females have become a lot more involved in the community. Is kind of what that shows in different positions that were, known. Of course, we've talked about when the first female president will come around.
Right.
We certainly got very close to that taking place the last couple of presidential races. Of course, in 2016 with Hillary Clinton, in 2024 with Harris and everything. So there's been a lot of attempts for that to happen, and it certainly could happen in the future.
Right.
So something else that seems to be taking place.
So, anyway, anything else on the automated strike zones?
I think that's it.
I think that's it
for that topic. So
All
that'll
right.
lead us into 2027 AI. So what is this, Isaac? That we've heard of?
Well, it's a recent report that came out called AI 2027, and again, the regular viewers, listeners, on our show, on the Great World Podcast, will know that we often talk about ChatGPT, Microsoft Copilot, and particularly with focus on these AI agents that have run on the GPT-4 framework, and there's been a bit of a change on that we will talk about here in a moment. But as far as this report that came out, there's an entire website dedicated to it, AI 2027. And all you have to do, you can just search that up and find this report for yourself and check it out. But sort of its tie with ChatGPT, it's actually got quite a close tie with ChatGPT, in that kind of the main fellow on this project, on this report, well, before he did this, he was an executive for ChatGPT, and now he's written this report, got together with a couple other guys on their predictions, sort of lays out a roadmap for the next couple of years in artificial intelligence and beyond. So what do we know about that, Jake? Did you have any big takeaways from what you heard about the report AI 2027?
Well, so I'll start off with reminding viewers that in January of this year, we started off by doing a news series on Thursdays, and during one of those, we covered the LA wildfires, which, just to mention this, just since this is some other news going on, there is now more wildfires in Southern California.
Really?
So
I've not heard about
prayers
that.
for those
Yes.
that are being affected by that. The Canyon Fire is one of those. But just to throw that in there, that was
Absolutely.
one of our news stories that we covered. The other one was the biggest issues to watch in 2025.
Yes, I believe that was the last one that we did.
Yeah, it was in late January, and one of those that we talked about was artificial intelligence taking over in as far as like hiring jobs.
Right, particularly the implications of AI on the job market. And, well, I understand that this new report, AI 2027, relates to that pretty closely.
Yeah, there's a lot of changes, of course, that we've seen with images now. Of course, that's one of the big things that we saw with Copilot and ChatGPT as well. But now it's getting even more advanced to the point where jobs could be taken over in the years to come.
Right, at least that's what is claimed in the AI 2027 report.
Do you think it'll actually happen?
Do I think it will actually happen? I think something like that could happen. It may be a little bit ambitious. And, what's unclear, because this report, it's come out fairly recently, and even more recently that it's been brought to my attention. So we haven't looked at it in depth. We certainly are likely to cover it more in the future, and if you'd like to hear more on that particularly, as always, you can request that down in the comments below this video. If you've got any other information to contribute, please email it to us, gwpinternational@att.net. That's gwp-international@att.net. Any insight that you may have on that would be much appreciated. So what we know this far on the AI 2027 report, the idea is it sort of plays out a roadmap for the next couple of years and beyond. And some of those predictions are, more for the next decade or so. But the reason for the emphasis on the year 2027 is that is when they predict that artificial intelligence will supersede human intelligence. And that's what we've talked about for some time. We talked about that a little bit in January with our special guest Nathaniel. And if you don't recall that, it would be an excellent opportunity to check out our playlist for those and check out that episode that we did with him.
Yeah, and that's the live streams. Make sure to check under our live stream
Absolutely,
videos.
so that'll be under the live tab on our YouTube channel for the Great World Podcast. But as far as that goes, of course, on this report now, what it lays out, of course, the reason for the emphasis on the year 2027. Like we said, that's when they're predicting that artificial intelligence will supersede human intelligence, and it won't actually be artificial intelligence in the way that we've known it. It'll be more like AGI, or artificial general intelligence, where in the sense where it really has general intelligence, it actually had superseded human intelligence. And they take this a step further in the report. They say that by this time, or around this time, that AI will replace basically all jobs. It'll be a sort of situation where that's replaced our jobs, artificial intelligence. It's just all automated at this point. We'll have some sort of universal basic income. We won't actually be doing these jobs personally. So quite a bold claim on that front. And at the very top of the report, one of the first things you'll see is that they believe that the changes that are soon to take place in AI will be on par with the Industrial Revolution, which is quite the claim. Any thoughts on that, Jake?
Yeah, and I think it's a bit bold. I mean, it's definitely bold.
Right, and I say that, but then again, I thought your prediction in January was pretty bold. I said, oh, really, I don't get it, but I'll take your word for it. And we're seeing, if nothing else, that the fellows who did this report have a similar idea about its implications on the job market, and they even take it a step further. So it's very interesting to see, and you could even say that that's somewhat of a fulfillment of a prediction that we made at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that 2027. I mean, that's less than 2 years away now.
Right.
So that is quite a bold
quite
claim.
a lot to happen in the next couple of years. I'm a little bit
Yeah.
skeptical about it, but
Yeah, I don't think it will.
Then again, if you hear anything about this report, a common theme is that you'll hear, oh, this fella, he used to work for ChatGPT. He knows his stuff. He knows about AI, and he's been right about most of his predictions.
Yeah.
So you have to step back and ask that, yes, it does sound far-fetched, but it sounds like this group does have some integrity, particularly on this topic.
Yeah,
So,
now I think a lot of his predictions have been accurate,
sure.
but have they been really big predictions like this? Has it been something that's super bold as to this kind of a claim?
Right, and I don't know, I haven't heard the specifics on that. I mean, it sounds like, if this one was an indication of his previous predictions, I'd say they were probably pretty ambitious, but I can't say for certain. That's a great question.
And so we will be doing a little bit more about that in a future episode.
Absolutely.
But we are running short on time, so we will go ahead and we're now going to transition to talking a little bit about the short film before we conclude with our finale here.
Absolutely. And so later this month, we have our short film coming out, our latest one, the Darkened Quest.
Yeah, it certainly is going to be dark, and it's going to be dangerous, and there's going to be many different turns, like twists and turns along the way. So you certainly will not want to miss when that premieres. That'll be next Tuesday night on August 19th at 7 o'clock. Make sure to tune in here on the Great World Podcast for that. It will be the most action-packed short film this time so far, at least, that we've done.
Oh, my jaw would have just hit the floor just then. Would have never guessed the Darkened Quest to be dark. So.
Well, it's going to get dark outside, and that's going to be a sign of impending doom, and things are going to go bad very quickly.
Sounds a little spooky.
So I hope you'll be on the edge of your seat, because it's going to be that thrilling. And actually, don't get on the edge of your seat because you might fall out of it. And we don't want anybody injured.
We wouldn't want that. We wouldn't want that. So.
Well, and something else is that I'm just glad that our security footage here has been working as well as it has been.
Yes.
So that is certainly really good. But wait a second.
What's the matter?
Wait, do you see that?
He's the black one.
He's the one. He's right there.
One?
Yeah.
Yeah, the one.
He's got a gun. He's got a gun. Wait. There he is. I guess the shots fired. All right. Did you get hit with anything? I think I'm good.
I guess. That came pretty close, though.
Yeah.
Too close. I guess we need a better security system.
Yeah, do we want to? Looks like he might be gone right now. We need to go. Yeah, that's my shirt over here.
Oh, that's good.
I don't see him now.
Yes. Yes, I need to report a shooting. Yes. 823 North Mayberry. Uh-huh. Yes, as quickly as possible, please. Yes, thank you, goodbye.